At least 27 people were killed and 63 others were injured by a massive fire at a pub in Bangkok late Sunday night. It began around 11:57 p.m. Had many customers inside the venue. Firefighters brought the blaze under control in about a half an hour. The fire killed 27 people, injured 63. 9 men and 18 women. Out of the 63 injured, 22 were in serious condition, taken to 16 different area hospitals. So that's what I'm going to discuss on this live stream. So before we go any further, I'll make sure everything is up and running properly. If somebody could give me a check on the audio, I'd appreciate it. Let's see, Bobby Martin, Rod, Barry Rock, and Coral C. Thank y'all for checking in. So somebody let me know how the audio is, and then we will go from there. Looks like we're up and running on Twitch. And if somebody can go over to Kick, you know what, let me go over and make sure I'm up on Kick, and then we'll go from there. Let's see, David, how you doing? Robin says everything sounds good. Albert says the sound check is great. Okay, so looks like, I'm not sure if we're up on Kick. Yeah, there we are. Looks like we're good to go on Kick as well. So we're going to talk about this pub fire that just happened over in Bangkok. And I'll put a video up there that's circulating around once I make sure everybody's here. And then we'll go over what the news media is reporting that went down. So again, David, Mike, Albert, Mr. U, thank y'all very much for tuning in. So let's put this up on the screen. There we go, right there. I'll just hit play on this video that's been circulating around. I'm not going to put the audio on there for several reasons. Number one, it might match up and I get a copyright claim, but that's cell phone footage of the fire. And again, all this is circulating around. So if you're just joining me, that's what I'm going to discuss. I'm going to discuss this pub fire that just went down over in Bangkok. And then after we cover that, we'll also talk about, there was another bar fire on New Year's Eve / New Year's Day over in Switzerland. So that's what we're going to discuss on the video, and just sort of look at these situations and talk about the people who survived what they did and the people who didn't survive what they did. But, you know, right up front, my heart, thoughts and prayers go out to everybody over there that's impacted by this fire. I mean, people are just sitting in there having some drinks, listening to the band, enjoying themselves. And then just in a matter of seconds and minutes, turns into a tragedy. Let's see, Drone, how are you? And then Mike's reporting loud and clear on Twitch. Micah, how are you? Okay, but the video you're watching, that's what's been circulating around on social media and the news. And you can see how quickly that thing just started, fire just shooting out the front door. But let me, I'll put that on hold for a second there. Let's just go through the article, what they're saying happened. Let's see, and I'll instead of saying everybody's name, I'll just say the authorities on the scene, saying that most of the fatalities resulted from smoke inhalation. And they're quoting musicians at the pub as saying that the fire started at a circuit breaker on the stage. And I'll show you some pictures of the inside, and it's just a typical, a lot of local spots. You just got tables, the stage is up front, the tables are like running this way, and everybody's just sitting there drinking beer and listening to the band. I've been to these types of clubs, pub, whatever you want to call it, many a day. Let's see, so the musicians reported that a fire started at a circuit breaker on the stage, followed by a blackout and then an explosion. Okay, they said the flames spread rapidly through decorations on the ceiling, and toxic smoke from the burning plastic was inhaled by victims. So if you're just joining me, I'll play it a couple more times there, the video that's circulating around. According to authorities, the pub was licensed. It operated in a single-story concrete building. Musical performances were allowed inside, and it had passed an inspection back in April. Officials quoted waiters as saying there were about 300 customers inside when the fire broke out. Now remember, this is a Sunday night at midnight. Normally, the club attracted about 600 to 700 people each night. So there's only about half the amount of people there. It's Sunday night at midnight. Everybody's got to get up and go to work on Monday. So if this had went down on a Friday night or Saturday night, the numbers would obviously be a lot higher. Okay, let me go over to your comments for a second. All right, David, thank you very much. Hope you're doing well. Alabaster Smidge, how are you? And then Drone's asking, no sprinkler systems. Folks, a lot of these answers I'm not going to be able to answer, and obviously the initial reporting is going to be sketchy. But when we're going to talk about this and then talk about the fire that went down in Switzerland back on New Year's Eve / New Year's Day, a lot of those answers are already clear. The investigations have been conducted, but a lot of things are just going to be unknown. Okay, so again, I'm quoting the Bangkok Post. About half of what they normally have in there, customers were there. About 300 customers inside. Usually it's double. And again, it's because it was a Sunday night. According to officials, the fire spread through the ceiling towards the front entrance. That prompted customers to rush to the back of the premises where there were fire exits. Now look, I've read some reports. There's some debates over whether there was a door that was locked. I don't know what the facts are. I'm just going to go off of this article. But what he's saying is that they rushed to the back because the fire spread to the front. Some customers became confused in the smoke and rushed into the toilets instead. Many victims had passed out in the toilets and also in front of the fire exits, blocking the escape route for other fleeing customers. And I'll just pause for a second. And during this whole talk, I'll focus on the fact of how fast the inside of a building becomes when there's a fire. Now, some of y'all may have been in a house fire before. If I know several of you fine folks out there are firefighters, and I used to be a firefighter myself for a brief period of time when I was going through paramedic school. And if you've been in a house fire, very quickly, you can't see anything. I'm talking a matter of seconds, 1 minute, you can't see nothing. So even if you are in your own house, people don't find their way out in their own house because you cannot see anything. So, these folks, if they're rushing towards the back and the place is filling up with smoke, they can't see where to go. There's 300 people inside the venue. They're probably at that point just feeling around, going by feel. They end up in the bathroom, in the Hong Nam, in the CR. So I just think, unless you've been in a fire, you just really can't appreciate how quick you're just totally disoriented. So I'll just keep bringing that up. Okay, well, come on down and see what else they have to say. Again, there were fire exits at the rear, according to officials, but several people mistakenly entered the toilets. Okay, and then we'll swap over here to some images. If I got these images pulled up, there you go. Okay, so that's like looking in the inside of just a typical bar like this, where you've got a band up front, got the tables going like that, and it's more of a local style. People just in there hanging out, drinking beer, listening to the band. I've been in places like this, exactly like this, many a night. Many times. Spent hours and hours in these types of bars. And as you can see, it pretty much did a number on the place quickly. Okay, so just continue down what else they have to say. That's pretty much what they've got to say about it so far. Okay, nothing else in that article right there. But while we just leave that up on the screen, the inside of the bar, I'll go back over to your comments and sort of slow down a little bit. My buddy always says I go too fast and I talk too much, so I need to focus on your comments a little bit more here. Okay, Skippy says they say that most of the people who perished were trapped in the restrooms. Okay, that's what I'm reading as well. And again, if you were to close your eyes right now, if you're in your house, well, you can probably make your way out. It'll take you a little bit longer and you'll bump into some things, but you'll make your way out. In a building that you are not familiar with, it's going to take you a long time because you're going to go by feel if the place is full of smoke. Let's see, Robbie, how are you? In Cebu City for 8 years. Victoria, how are you? Okay, Boz says I've actually been in that pub quite a few times. I lived like 2 kilometers away, mainly Thai customers. Okay, and I'll agree, a lot of these places like this, it's where the locals go. That's their style of partying. When I was married to my Thai wife, this is exactly the place that we would go to all the time. Meet her friends, meet friends, what have you. And most of the time I was probably 2 or 3 furlongs in there, foreigners, but this is how the locals, when they go out. No sprinklers from memory and no back exit that I know of. Okay, and that's just one man's recollection. So I don't know. Again, the facts are still coming in. Some of them are saying there were fire exits. You saw another official on the scene that said one of the doors was locked. Okay, who knows? I don't know the facts. We don't know the facts till everything settles. But let's just talk about that. Okay, my personal situation, I've done a lot of drinking, a lot of partying, a lot of hanging out in bars in various countries throughout the years. And a lot of times when I go to a place like that, you know, I've already had a few beers. I get in there looking for a fire escape. It's not on my mind. It was never on my mind. What was on my mind? Finding a table, getting some beer, listening to the band. That's what was on my mind. So that, and as we'll talk about the incident in Switzerland, if you're stone cold sober and you have around about a minute to get out of a building before the visibility is zero because of the smoke, it's difficult. Now imagine you've had 2, 3, 4 beers. You're obviously not at optimal performance to try to escape a burning building. So, you know, anytime I went there to any club or any bar, I'm having a great time. I'm drinking. I'm listening to the music. I'm dancing. I'm not thinking about no fire escape. So, I'll just bring that up. Okay, Jay Subic Bay says Station Nightclub Fire Kill 100, injured 230 in Rhode Island. Okay, thanks for bringing that up, because that's another point I want to make is that, okay, right now, you know, Bangkok's in the news. It'll make the rounds and, you know, take a bad rap for the moment. Oh, their safety was this, that, and the other. But, folks, these types of incidents happen all over the globe. It happens in the United States. It's happened in the United States, Switzerland. But since it's the story of the day, you know, Thailand will take a bad rap, and some of the reports will say safety, this and that. It doesn't matter. When a fire breaks out in a crowded building, it don't matter if you got fire sprinklers, you've got fire extinguishers, you've got a plan. People still don't make it out. Okay? Let's all go on down. Okay, Liverpool nightclub in Munich, January 7th, 1984. So again, thank y'all for bringing up these other incidents. Yeah, the Jameson's, that's just the whiskey advertisement. Yeah, the smoke inhalation will just overcome you, and everything happens so quick. And then Boz, you know, brings it up, and that's what the perception will be. You know, are places in Southeast Asia as, use the word safe, as places in the U.S. or what have you? It's all subjective. I mean, obviously the U.S. is regulated, a lot of times over-regulated. But again, my argument would be, it don't matter if you're in America, Switzerland, Australia, if you're in a crowded building, partying with a lot of people, and you're drinking, and all those factors come together and a fire breaks out, I think there's a pretty high probability there's going to be folks that are not going to make it out of that building. Once that smoke disorients you, and then the lights go out to make it even worse, there are going to be some folks that are not going to make it out. Okay. All right. If you're just joining me, I'll put the. Hey Richard, how you doing? Yeah, it was in Bangkok and Thailand. But you know what? They're going to take enough bad rap. So I just put Southeast Asia. Okay, because the point of the video is not to lay blame to anybody. You know, I love Southeast Asia. I love Thailand, the Philippines, Cambo. My point is that these incidents happen everywhere, even with all the regulation, all the fire suppression systems, they still happen. So let's just break down a couple of points. And this is just my opinion and the way that I operate in any situation like this, okay? If I come in the front door and there's an emergency, or I come in the side door and there's an emergency, I'm going to focus on going back out the exact same way I come in, no matter what. Now look, if there's a fire right in front of me, it's a different, I get it. But if at all possible, you don't speculate that there are other openings. You go to the one that you came in. Again, if there's a fire in front of the door, you got to go to plan B. But I never make the assumption that there's another way out. I know for a fact I came in that front door, and with all my might, that's what I'm going out. And also in my memory, I come in through that front door, I'm going to feel my way out back through that door. That's just how I think. Now, would it always work out? I hope so, but I don't know. But I know this, that once the room fills with smoke and I'm trying to go in a direction that I've never been before, you're lost. Okay? And we can talk about safety in these types of situations. Sit closer to the door, sit closer to the door that you came in. But again, when I go out partying, I'm not thinking fire safety. I'm thinking about listening to the band and having a good time and drinking. And these things historically have not been on my mind. But when I sit here and I study and look at this, I just think back to, take concerts for example. You know, how many concerts have I been at in bars in America of various sizes? I mean, I can tell you right now, some of y'all in Georgia, if you're around the Atlanta area, back when the Crystal Chandelier or Cowboys was in full swing, I mean, it's a huge club. It used to be a grocery store. You know, I don't know if it's bigger than Billy Bob's, but it was a huge club. Plenty of emergency doors. But I was in a concert, well, I've been in several concerts, many a night, where it was standing room only in that entire building, which is huge. And I can promise you this, if a fire had broken out, you would be looking at a lot more numbers than we're looking at during this incident, because it don't matter. There was just too many people to get out too little doors. So I'll go over to your comments. I'll play this video again. I'm not putting the audio in there. There's a lot of screaming and what have you. Maybe YouTube dings me for this video, I don't know, but it's been circulating around. There's some footage where the firemen are going through and there's nothing but bodies laying in the restroom area. Yeah, and who knows if there were any emergency lights, sprinklers, alarms. But again, in this case, as fast as the fire spread, would they have really made a huge difference? Now, over here, it's not like you have a gas line. Over here, what do we have? We got tanks of LPG. You go to the restaurants, they got big tanks. Over here at the crib, when I get one, I got the small 11 kilogram tanks, right? So in areas of the world like this, every restaurant or bar that you go to, they're cooking, there's LPG tanks, multiple LPG tanks. So was that a factor in this case? I don't know. But you pretty much make the assumption if they're serving food in there, there's LPG tanks, multiple ones for the kitchen, for the cooking. Let's see, Biggie support group, how are you? Yeah, so whatever comes out with the safety equipment, what worked, what didn't, it's still a recipe for disaster when you're in any crowded building, period, and a fire breaks out. You're in a crowded building, you're drinking, and a fire breaks out. It just makes it worse for survivability. Because I've been in plenty buildings in the past where I had to get help to get out of the building, and there wasn't no fire. I just been drinking too much, right? So it's just the way it is. Yeah, Victoria's reporting. Okay, seeing a few foreigners there. I don't know what the makeup of the folks in there was. And people running out with their hair and their clothes on fire. See, Chicken Thai Maine checking in from Northern California. Hope you're doing well. But again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the this pub fire over in Bangkok. It happened right at midnight last night. So this just went down. In the latest news report I saw, which I'm sure will be updated, but the latest numbers were 27 killed. Let's see, 63 injured, and was it 22 critical? So, just by the nature of the incident, the number will probably climb, unfortunately. Okay, so if you're traveling to Southeast Asia, is there a takeaway from this? Are there any tips or anything to look for? What's there to look for? Like I said, I've been up in these clubs many a night. Just normal life. Just normal life. What do you do? What kind of advice could you give? Go to the club and don't drink. That way you're more alert in case a fire goes out. What's the purpose of going to a club? You could try to sit closer to the door if a place is crowded. That's probably good advice right there, because that's what I do on the aircraft now. I'm always sitting by an exit door. Always. Either the front, the back. I'm sitting by an exit door. So I guess, just being that this incident's fresh in my head, if I were to go out tonight, I'd probably be sitting close to the door. Just because it's fresh in my head and I'm not drinking. If I'm drinking, I'm sitting close to the band, or I'm sitting where there's a good view, or I'm trying to sit next to some ladies. I'm not worried about no fire escape or a fire. I'm worried about partying. Your boy Norm, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so we'll see what the the official investigation comes out. But in any bar, you've got decorations. You've got typically stuff hanging from the ceiling. I mean, it's a bar, it's a club, right? You're setting up the atmosphere. A lot of that stuff is flammable. So I'm not trying to downplay the incident, but I'm just saying, is there, electrical fires happen all the time. They happen all the time. The fire spread quickly, and this is how the incident unfolded. And obviously, the investigation will tell whether there's any gross negligence or what have you. Okay, let me go to another article, see if we got any more updated information. And see, you go to Al Jazeera and they're already jumping on it. Deadly pub blaze revives concern over fire safety lapses. Okay, that's what they're going to jump on. And I'm, sort of just, obviously I love Thailand. And I'm going to defend Thailand till the end. Thailand is a whole lot safer than many places I've been around the globe. So for them to jump on there and say, fire safety lapses, I think that's a little biased and unfair at this point because of my original argument. You put a bunch of people in a building when they're drinking and a fire breaks out, you're going to have injuries and casualties. So I think it's a little unfair and premature that they're jumping on that bandwagon. And I'm not saying there is or there not. But I can tell you 100%, I've been to places around the globe a whole lot more dangerous with zero regard for any type of fire safety procedures. Okay, let's see. This is... Again, it's the same story. A musician who was performing told him that he saw smoke coming out of a circuit breaker near the stage before the power went out. Then an explosion was heard and thick smoke quickly filled the place. So the question is, what was the explosion from? Was it an LPG tank? I'm just speculating. I don't know. Let's see, a singer who was performing nearby heard the news. She rushed to the scene because several of her bandmates were performing. And she said one of them died and 3 were hospitalized and 1 has not been located. From what I heard from people who were inside when the fire started, everything went dark. So there you go. When the fire starts, now you've got smoke and a dark building. How do you see to get out? And the answer is you can't. But again, my point is, if I'm sitting in my house and the lights go out and it fills with smoke, there's about a 50-50 chance I'm not going to make it out of my own house. She said the power was out and there was smoke everywhere, so they couldn't locate other people. Okay, and then in the country of Thailand in 2022, 14 people were killed by a fire at another pub, which is not, Thailand is a tourism hub. Let's see, and then back in 2009, 66 people were killed in a nightclub sparked by an indoor fireworks display. Okay, we'll come over to another article here. See if we've got any update. And again, it's pretty much the same story. Everybody they're talking to and reporting. The pub rapidly filled with smoke, forcing many to run to the back of the venue near the bathrooms. And that's where they found most of the folks who did not make it. Now, this report is saying an initial assessment was that an electrical short in an air conditioner located in the ceiling caused the fire. And that sort of conflicts with what the folks in the band say. Okay, so here we go here. Based on survivor accounts, officials said the fire is understood to have started at the front stage section and forcing many to run to the back of the venue, which houses the kitchen and the bathrooms. So there's obviously a kitchen. You make the assumption that they've got LPG tanks in the back. According to the governor, the owner of the pub was inside the building when the fire broke out, currently receiving medical treatment. So just an overall sad situation, folks. Just sad news coming out of there. Let's see, Hod, how are you doing? Reminds me of when I watched live streams during the Stampede crowd rush in Korea on Halloween. 159 people died. And people criticize foreigners for climbing a wall to escape. They lived, and those who stayed died. Yeah, they've had a few. They've had a few, but you have to look at it. Thailand is a huge tourism hub. That's what it's about. So there's obviously a lot more bars and nightclubs in Thailand, and a lot more people partying, than the average location. So yeah, there's been a few, but if you count the number of bars and the number of times those bars are packed out, I don't think the percentages and the numbers look so bad. But let's go ahead and shift gears. I'll cover this. This is on 1 January of this year at 01:26. So it was a New Year's Eve party. Fire broke out at the Constellation Bar in the ski resort town of Crans, Montana, Valais, Switzerland. Okay, so just go back to New Year's Eve in Switzerland, okay, where 41 people died in the fire, 115 others were injured, 83 treated for severe burns. So you go from Southeast Asia, let's go to Switzerland. I'm sure Switzerland had a lot more safety equipment, and people still did not make it out of the bar. This particular bar over in Switzerland, let me see if I got something to put up on the screen about this. This bar in Switzerland was a ground floor and a basement, and it could accommodate 300 people. So 2 levels, ground floor and a basement. You could put 300 people in there, plus 40 on the terrace. It's sort of like that movie when Brad Pitt's talking about, fighting in a basement. You're in a basement. I've been in several basement type bars. And when you're in a basement and it's a bar, it ain't but one way out. The ones I've been in. So if you're in a basement in a bar drinking and a fire breaks out, it's not where you want to be. So let me see if I got something to put up on the screen. Okay, so here we go right here. So just shifting gears, we're talking about the Bangkok fire that just went down, and now let's go back to New Year's Day of this year, and that's the fire at the Swiss ski resort. And if I can get the video to play here, let's see if we got it playing. Oh, here we go, right here. Probably everybody remembers this, where the girl was coming through and they had the sparklers. The sparklers caught the ceiling on fire. And there you go. So you've got a packed out venue, and it's one level in a basement, and that fire just spreads too quick for anybody to get out. And I'm sure, like I said, a lot more safety equipment / regulation, everything there in Switzerland. But let's see, what was the final numbers on that? Final numbers in Switzerland were 41 people died in the fire. So more people died in Switzerland than that has perished in this Bangkok incident. So here's the read from it. Again, back to the Switzerland incident. A waitress was wearing a crash helmet, holding 2 bottles of champagne with lit fountain candle sparklers. And she was on the shoulders of a barman wearing a Guy Fawkes mask. And those sparks were centimeters from the ceiling, which then caught fire. And then you saw in the video, this dude here is trying to hit it with a piece of clothing to put it out, and it just didn't work. You can't reach the ceiling. All that stuff on the ceiling is too flammable, and now it's a scramble to get out. Within seconds of that fire, people, that were in line to enter saw smoke billowing out within seconds. So people trying to get in the club, within seconds of this ceiling catching on fire, there's smoke coming out the door, and then an immense fire blast occurred. And I guess this acoustic foam that they were using for the ceiling is not exactly flame retardant. Well, a lot of clubs that we go to, it's the same thing. They've got some type of acoustic foam or treatment or something to keep the noise down from the neighbors, make the room not sound so echoey. It's a bar, it's a nightclub. So you're obviously concerned with the sound design, right? Okay, I'll go back to your comments here while we catch up. Drone says, I don't like crowds, so I'm usually okay. Yeah, back in the day when I was going to concerts and partying and drinking, I love crowds. Now, not so much. You know, my risk of getting caught up in something like this is obviously pretty low now. But back in the day when I was in these types of bars and clubs and dancing, and I was up in there every night. You know, and not to name no names, but you know, one place we used to go to, one of our favorite places, is sort of like over the water on piers. And of course, everybody in there dancing, you know, and I was just sitting there, you know what, everybody jumping up and down and dancing. What if this thing goes down into the water? How are we going to get out of here? We're going to be dancing one minute and drowning the next. Luckily, that never happened, but occasionally that popped into my head. Yeah, yeah, these basement type places where you have to go in there one way in, one way out, no windows, no way for any type of natural light or outside light. The power goes out in that thing, it's 100% darkness. And there's one way in and one way out, a lot of them. So I'm not down with going to no basement clubs or basement bars anymore. That's just me. And Dixon says, never been in that bar, but walked past it. Gio, how you doing? Harry, how are you? Yeah, I haven't been to Soy Cowboy in years. Yeah, but in that situation, you have 100 plus people rushing the only exit. And again, folks, you know, I'm not here to, you know, talk bad about the situation or say they didn't have enough safety. In America, these places I used to party at, it didn't matter. You had everything up to code. If there's a fire in a bar, there's a good chance people ain't making it out. You could add 3 more fire exits in a lot of the bars I used to party in. People still ain't gonna make it out because the speed of the fire, you can't see, and you've been drinking. There you go. Let's see, Exodus, how you doing? I hope you're doing well, my friend. I'll just hit play on that one more time. So, folks, that's what I was gonna just talk about. You know, people will look at this around the world and they'll take away, oh, you know, there's lax regulations, whatever. I think it's just quite the opposite. It's fires happen no matter where you're at on the planet, no matter how regulated your country is. If there were no fires, there would be no need for firemen and fire departments. So even in the good old US of A, with all our safety and regulations, incidents like this still occur. They will continue to occur even with all the fire suppression systems that's required over there in a highly regulated area. So that's my take on it. My heart goes out to everybody that's affected. Just sad. And you know what we were talking about yesterday, I mean, life is short. You just never know. You just never know. 1 minute you're just sitting there enjoying a drink, listening to the band, probably you know, just enjoying life. And next thing you know, you're fighting for your life, trying to get out of a burning building. Gotta live every day as though it were your last, because you never know. Yeah, but even those automatic fire suppression systems, sometimes they're just combat ineffective. Even if you have all of that, it still ain't gonna work. So, yeah, I don't even know what the current laws are over in the U.S. right now. But again, if fire sprinklers were 100% effective, we wouldn't need fire departments. So, deductive reasoning says they don't always work. Okay, we still need firemen. We need the fire department. Yeah, like I said, it's just speculation to say exactly what went down. But I think it would be safe to say they have a chimney, so there were obviously some LPG tanks. Now, the tanks may have been sitting outside the building, but if they got a kitchen there and they got some gas, did that have a factor? All the witnesses that are coming forward so far said there was an explosion. What was the explosion? Or we don't know. And Drone says more than 20 years ago I tested sprinklers, alarms, emergency lights once a month, working security. Yeah. So, even in the U.S. where you got to test these things, you got to keep them up to snuff. Even with the most intense regulation, you're still going to have shit like this go down. Yeah. Sprinklers, again, if sprinklers are 100% combat effective, we wouldn't need firemen. But they're not. So they're just one more tool and element in the whole fire suppression system and plan. And the fire department got there pretty quick, and they got the thing put out within 30 minutes. So Thailand has a pretty good EMS and fire departments. They're the whole system compared to Southeast Asia as a whole. You've got a pretty good system. So if I had to guess, I don't know exactly how long it took them to get there, but they got there pretty quick and went to work, and they're competent. Okay, so there you go. Victoria's quoting another one. Yeah, Leanne, how are you? Yeah, it's just a sad situation. I don't know how else to put it. But here's, I can just talk about my feelings about it, right? If I were still drinking and still going out, it's not going to stop me. It's not going to deter me from living my life. And if somebody wants to go and hang out and watch a band in that same type of building, same type of bar, it's not going to deter me. You can't look at these situations and say, forget it, I ain't never going to a bar again. But in the same sense, you listen to what happened, listen to the people who survived, what they did, listen and hear what they have to say about the people who didn't survive. Just like I watch a lot of documentaries on plane crashes, and you sit there and you pay attention to that. And that's just me now. Whenever I fly, I'm sitting by an emergency exit. It's just the way it's going to be. Those seconds, if that plane catches on fire, it's going to be seconds between who lives and who dies. Not minutes, it's going to be seconds. If you're sitting by that emergency exit, you're probably getting out. If you're in between emergency exits, your chance of survivability goes way down. So I just pay attention to these types of incidents and listen to the stories. But as I said in the beginning, okay, if there's a fire at the front, they ran to the back. I get it. But it's very risky running to a section of a building when you don't know if there's an exit. Because once that thing fills up with smoke and the lights go out, you're done. You're just disoriented. You're not going to make it out. So just in my mind, my heart, if there's a fire, I'm going out the exit that I came in. Why? Because I know 100% there's an exit. But again, I'm just speculating what, I don't know what happened inside that building. That's the plan I have in my mind if it happened to me. Okay, so folks, that's all I got. That's all I got. I'm not going to make this a long, drawn-out stream coming up on 56 minutes. But basically, if you're just joining me, there was a pub fire over in Bangkok. So we talked about that. We briefly discussed this is the second major fire in a pub for the year 2026. New Year's Eve, there was one in Switzerland that was worse than this. So it's not just because it was in Southeast Asia. It can happen anywhere. It happened in Switzerland already this year. So there you go. That's the latest news coming out of Southeast Asia. Okay, Derek, very good point. Fire suppression systems might not put the fire out, but they can slow the intensity until firefighters arrive. Very good point. If they work as designed, absolutely right. Absolutely correct. And again, we don't know what type of systems they had in there. We don't know if they work. We'll have to wait for months to figure out what the outcome is. All right, folks. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn off the video right there as we start to shut down the stream. For my regular viewers, you know, we covered the typhoon here in the Philippines this last week. We're still getting a little bit of rain. It's like it rains hard at night, and then the day is just sprinkling. Today's Monday. They canceled school here today where we're at on Subic Bay. But as far as the typhoon and the rains, we're fine here. You know, we're up on an elevation, so we're not worried about flooding. Right now it's just raining. So the typhoon and the rains from this southwest monsoon not affecting us here, other than it's just raining. We're all good to go here. I can't speak for everybody else. I can just tell you what our situation here is at the crib. See, Vincent, how are you? Hope you're doing well. All right, folks, so that's my quick report. Hour long's a quick report. That's quick for me. So if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up for us. Helps out with the Google squirrels. If you're watching on Twitch or over on Kick, hit that follow or whatever. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do over there. Last question. I changed the layout again and trying to improve the look of the studio here. Change the graphics, and just let me know in the comments what you think. And sooner or later, at some point, I'll get the looks in the background right, at least better than it was. Yep, Nova Rick, may everybody rest in peace, and you know, thoughts and prayers go out to their families. All right, folks, so that's what I had to offer. That's what I've got to offer today. I'll see you fine folks on the next one, next video or live stream. I hope y'all have a good evening. Hug your loved ones, and things like this, when you sit there and think about it, just puts life in perspective. That just cherish your kids, your old lady, what we have, because it don't matter how much money you got, how many problems you got. When you end up in a situation like this, it don't matter. So, all right, Mike says it looks good, not too cluttered. Yeah, Big Pumpkin says she didn't like the yellow. She doesn't like the yellow colors of the bar. So anyhow, I'm changing it around. Yeah, Ty, thanks for stopping by, my friend. Victoria, we'll see y'all. All right, with that, I'm out of here. We'll see y'all on the next one. Peace out, everyone.